I'm Ann Libby, and I'm a New York City-based consultant and coach. I work with closely held organizations on people, culture, and how to have the structures in place to create excellent workplace environments. I gave this talk, or a version of this talk, on January 15th, 2015 at BrooklynJS. I worked at the talk over the Christmas holiday, and I had help from Jed Schmidt, who's one of the awesome organizers of BrooklynJS, and my dad, who is a career programmer, now retired, who started off his programming career at UNIVAC in 1960. It was so much fun working with both Jed and Dad on this, and the BrooklynJS audience was awesome. So thanks for this great opportunity to put this together. It was a lot of fun. So we're going to talk about programmers as emerging managers. And the first thing that I'm going to say is that, like anything else, it is a walk to excellence. It takes 10,000 hours to learn most worthwhile things and learn them well. It's true of programming and it's true of management. So the problem with management is that in some terms, the hashtag for management is completely meaningless, and you can try Googling it yourself and see what I mean. You'll find asset management, product management, project management, anger management, all different forms of management, and you'll also find a lot of meaningless stuff out there that's supposedly about people management. So as we started talking about putting this together, Jed helped me with some definitions for what programmers do, and we thought we'd create an analog between what programmers do and what managers do. So to start out with programming, you have to convert ambiguous human language into unambiguous computer language. When you're managing, you're taking ambiguous objectives, business goals, and turning them into less ambiguous human language. When you're programming, you're maintaining abstraction balance between maintainability, performance, and flexibility. When you're managing, you're optimizing expenditure of limited resources. When you're programming, you're trying to figure out when something is good enough. When you're managing, you're trying to figure out when you're done with something. And that's really about whether something is good enough. Why would you practice either of these crafts? Per Jed, when you're programming, you're able to execute your own technical vision without interpretation. When you're managing, you're executing on a business vision or a product vision that you really can't execute on alone. Programming requires you to clarify your thoughts, much like any good writing project would. It's a little bit different with managing, although you do need to clarify your thoughts. Really, more the point is that when you like managing, you generally like teaching people and supporting people as they grow and develop. How do I get started? What's the training process? To start out with, I want to talk a little bit about emerging managers. There are no management prodigies. This is a 10,000-hour job, and I'm told by people that there truly is no 10x developer either. So what's an emerging manager? It's someone who has managed people anywhere from several weeks to several years. Frequently, it's a proven subject matter expert who is taking on a team for the first time. Maybe there are many people on the team, maybe there are just a couple. One important point, and it's especially true in startups, but it can happen in larger organizations as well. Sometimes your boss is an emerging manager. Sometimes it's the CEO or the founder of your company. And by the way, when I gave this talk at BrooklynJS, I got a laugh on that one, but it wasn't intended to be funny. CEOs have coaches for this reason, right? How do you become an expert? Guess what? There's a lot of things in common. You can access mentors, peers, and training as well. You learn in this way from the work of others. You ship, and then you repeat for 10,000 hours. Mentors can be key, and you can find mentors in the oddest places. Sometimes when you're fortunate, it's your own manager. Sometimes it's an older relative. The key is to be experienced. Find somebody that's already walked along the road that you've walked on. But you already have a lot of the experience that you need to set forth on this road to being a 10,000 hour manager. You've spent some hours being a friend. And as Father Jim Martin points out, Father Jim Martin is Stephen Colbert's priest, ex of the Colbert Report, that you need to put time, honesty, and listening into your relationships when you're a friend. You need to put those same things into your relationships when you're a manager as well. There's different boundaries, but it's the same skill set. Some of your skills won't transfer. Not too many hockey players wind up in Disney on Ice, and probably not too many figure skaters wind up as goalies. It's not just about being a skilled professional. It's about having the specific skills to the profession. So what do? You learn and apply best practices. And I'm going to talk about 3 key best practices that you can get started with instantly. Number 1, learn how to set and articulate goals. I'm a practical person, and I sort of shy away from the flavor of the month. So anything that has an acronym is usually something that I try and push away. But push away as I've tried, there's no better acronym than SMART for what every goal should be. Specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-bound. When a goal is SMART and you've reached the point in time when you're finished with a project, you'll know whether you finished that project or not by whether everybody can answer, is this done, with one word, and it's either yes or no. SMART helps you to put that hard boundary around a goal. Second, and this goes to time, honesty, and listening, regular one-on-one discussions. You should be having regular, weekly, maybe a couple of times a month, discussions with your people, not just when there's a problem, but to talk about how things are going, to talk about whether you're on the same page. If there is a problem, a private one-on-one is the place to bring it up, not the stand-up, right? Criticize privately, praise in public. And never, ever, 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 ever give someone constructive or negative feedback over email. Never. It never works. It often hurts the situation, and it can lead to a relationship damaging breach. You sometimes just can't come back from something you put in writing, and you may have done it with the best intentions, and it was received the wrong way. Talk to somebody on the phone, Skype with them if they're remote. Talk to somebody in real life. Just don't use email or texting to give people feedback. Finally, invest time in formal evaluations. At least twice a year, you should be sitting down and taking a historical view. Same stuff that you've discussed in your one-on-ones. Have the goals been met? What didn't work? What's needed to succeed in the future? And also, every one of your employees has goals, hopes, and dreams. How can you help each of those employees meet them? Finally, you need to think about performance evaluations as an opportunity to use your skills for good and not evil. Used correctly, any performance evaluation process, just about, can be a relationship building experience if you go into it with that thought process. There are some forms of performance evaluations like stack ranking that cause you to force people into a normal curve in terms of their performance. I'm not a fan. Another problem with management, it's hard. Why is it hard? Well, here's Sarah Chips, on why hardware prototyping and software prototyping are different. Software is awesome. I'm paraphrasing her here, although the words on the page are Sarah's. Software is awesome, but it's pretend. Hardware is real life and requires real life objects to exist. When you're managing people, it's not pretend. Real people, real stuff has to happen, and there's a lot of complexity to it. So what skills do you bring into this situation? When you're a programmer, and these are, again, thank you, Jed, words on what you bring to programming: empathy for your users and for the people around you as well, and patience, as well as logic. When you're a manager, empathy, patience, and analysis. One of the things that my dad said while I was putting this together is logic doesn't work on people. That's another reason that management is hard. Finally, what about flow? Jed asked me about this. And I'm here to tell you, unfortunately, that management won't often bring you the experience of single-pointed concentration that we call flow. Some of the management work that you do, you might find, building a financial model or something like that will bring you flow. But really, more of the joy that you'll find at work with management is seeing what happens when you think that you had an insurmountable problem, or when your team pulls together to meet a deadline that nobody thought you could meet, or when someone learns to do something new, or outgrows their job and finds a higher expression of their talent. It's not exactly flow, but it can bring you a measure of joy at work, and that can be awesome. It's my firm belief that anybody can learn to manage if you want to, and you don't have to want to. Again, some people are happier in the role of individual contributor. And I think one of the greatest causes of suffering in the workplace is when we force skilled individual contributors to become managers, and it really wasn't something they wanted to do. So food for thought for your own leadership practices in the future. But should you decide to walk along that road, just commit to learning. If you're going to do something, be excellent. So find formal training when you can. Find a network of peers and mentors, coaches. Yes, you can learn some stuff by reading about it, but just like learning how to ski or like learning to code, you can only read so much about it before you actually have to start to do the work. And it's doing the work, and in doing the work, practicing, shipping, 10,000 hours of that work is what's going to teach you to be a good manager. I had an awesome time presenting at BrooklynJS, and I thank you for watching this and listening to this. And if you've got questions, you can find me on Twitter and many other places on the internet. Thanks for being here. Good luck with your management career.